Before the beginning of time itself, before the first star burned or the first atom existed, there was only God, infinite, unchanging, beyond all comprehension. There were no skies to declare His glory, no oceans to reflect His majesty, no beings to speak His name. Only the endless, radiant presence of the Eternal One filled all that was. And within this divine infinity, there was the Word, the Logos, the Son who was with God and who was God. He did not come into being. He simply was eternal and perfect, dwelling in absolute unity with the Father and the Spirit. He was not created. He was the Creator, the breath behind all existence, the thought through which all reality would one day emerge. Before anything existed, He was there, conscious, alive, burning with divine purpose. The Bible says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." This is not just poetry. It is a glimpse into eternity itself. Long before human history began, before even angels opened their eyes, the Son already existed in perfect glory, equal with the Father, infinite in power and love. The Word was the voice of creation. When the Father willed something to exist, it was the Word who spoke it into being. "Let there be light," He declared, and the silence of the void was shattered. In an instant, light exploded across the emptiness. Time began its first heartbeat, and creation itself awoke. The stars, the galaxies, the fabric of reality, all formed at His command. Every molecule, every element, every natural law came forth from His will. He was not part of the universe. He was the architect of it. He stretched out the heavens like a canvas, painted constellations across the darkness, and filled the endless expanse with worlds beyond counting. Each detail, from the blazing sun to the faintest atom, was shaped by His wisdom. Every sound, every color, every rhythm of life reflects His divine imagination. Even before angels existed, before their wings spread across heaven, the Son stood in eternal light. He was the perfect reflection of the Father's glory, the visible expression of the invisible God. Through Him, all things found meaning. Without Him, nothing could exist. He was the Word, the language of creation, the mind of God spoken into reality. The Father loved the Son with infinite love, and that love overflowed into creation, for creation itself was an act of love. Not a necessity, not an experiment, but a divine outpouring of joy and generosity. God did not create because He was lonely. He created because His nature is love, and love must give. The Word was the bridge between the infinite and the finite. Through Him, Spirit became matter, eternity entered time, and the unseen became visible. He was the mediator, not only between God and man, but between heaven and all existence. And even before man was made, even before sin existed, the plan for redemption was already written in His heart. He foresaw humanity's fall, the corruption of His perfect creation, the rebellion of angels, and the rise of darkness. He saw it all, and still He chose to create, because love that is truly divine is never afraid of sacrifice. The cross was not an accident in history. It was a purpose older than time itself. The Word, who would one day walk the earth as Jesus Christ, was not surprised by the pain of the world. He was the answer to it. He is the light that no darkness can overcome, the eternal truth that no lie can destroy. Even in eternity past, before the universe began, the plan of salvation already existed, because love always finds a way. Imagine eternity before creation, no sound, no movement, only the living light of God filling everything that is. And in that divine light, the Word stood, majestic, radiant, limitless. The heavens did not yet exist, but His glory filled them in advance. The earth had not yet formed, but His Spirit hovered over the deep. Every future moment, every heartbeat of history, every life that would ever exist, He saw it all at once. He saw Abraham's faith, Moses' courage, David's heart, Mary's devotion. He saw the cross, the tomb, and the resurrection, and beyond them, a redeemed creation filled with eternal life. To Him, nothing was hidden, nothing unknown. He was and is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the reason behind all things. The galaxies were His architecture, the laws of nature were His design. When humanity would one day study science, they would unknowingly study His handwriting. When they would write songs of love and longing, they would unknowingly echo His heart. He is the pattern, the logic, the truth upon which all things stand. Our capacity to love reflects His love. Our sense of justice mirrors His righteousness. Our desire for meaning is the shadow of His eternal purpose. Every mind that seeks truth, every heart that longs for something greater, is drawn to Him, whether they know it or not. Before creation, there was no throne room, yet He reigned. No angels sang, yet He was glorified. No light shone, yet He was radiant beyond measure. He was the center of all that is, not in space or time, but in being itself. And when at last the moment came for creation to begin, the Word spoke, not with noise, but with power. Existence itself bent to His command. Reality unfolded like a scroll. The universe was born, not from chaos, but from perfect order, guided by His eternal wisdom. This is who Jesus was before Bethlehem, before Nazareth, before the manger and the cross. He was not a man becoming God. He was God becoming man. The carpenter of Nazareth was the architect of the cosmos. The infant who cried in Mary's arms was the same voice that said, "Let there be light." And that same word, that eternal Son, still speaks today, calling creation back to its Maker. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every whisper of the wind is a reminder of Him, the one who was before all things, and by whom all things still exist. Before the dawn of all that is seen and unseen, the eternal Word continued His work. He was not a silent presence, but the voice through which the Father's will became reality. Every law of existence, every rhythm of life, every dimension of the universe was conceived through Him. What humanity would one day call natural law was in fact divine harmony, a reflection of His perfect order. Through Him the first light unfolded, piercing the infinite darkness. That light was not merely illumination, it was consciousness, the birth of truth itself. Angels emerged within this brilliance, their essence formed by His command, their wings shining with His radiance. They knew His voice, for it was the same voice that had called them into being. He was their Lord, their Creator, their eternal reason for existence. And yet, even among the celestial ranks, few could comprehend the full magnitude of the Son's nature. To them, He was the visible image of the invisible Father, the expression of divinity in form. Through Him, the Father revealed love, justice, and glory. Through Him, all things held together. Nothing existed apart from His will. He measured the expanse of the cosmos with a glance, stretched out the heavens like an artist preparing his canvas. Every star that would one day guide shepherds or sailors, every world that would nurture life, all began within His thought. The galaxies were born as whispers of His creative power. His word was not sound, it was being itself. As creation expanded, order began to take shape. The realms of the spiritual and the physical were established, each balanced perfectly under his rule. The throne of heaven stood high above, radiant with divine fire. Thrones, dominions, and powers found their place within the structure of his design. He ruled not as a tyrant, but as a source of purpose and peace. But even in the brilliance of heaven, the seeds of rebellion would one day stir. There were those among the angels who began to gaze upon the Son with envy, blinded by his unending glory. They could not understand that his authority was not stolen. It was inherent, eternal, uncreated. He was the light they could never possess, the truth they could not alter. Still, before any shadow could taint heaven, the Son looked upon his creation with perfect calm. His gaze reached across the infinite, knowing the future before it unfolded. He foresaw the fall, the corruption of pride, and the pain it would bring. Yet he chose to create nonetheless because love demands freedom, even the freedom to rebel. Every act of creation carried the weight of sacrifice. The Word knew that one day he would enter his own creation, taking upon himself its frailty. Before the first human was shaped, before the first sin was committed, the Lamb was already prepared. The cross was not a response to failure. It was part of the design from the very beginning. In the eternal council of heaven, the Father and the Son shared perfect understanding. The Spirit hovered beside them, weaving life into what would soon be formed. They were three, yet one, indivisible, eternal, and complete. The Son's divine energy pulsed like light within the heart of reality, binding all things together. And when the first foundations of the earth were laid, the morning stars sang in unison. The heavens resonated with sound beyond mortal comprehension, a hymn of creation echoing through eternity. The Son smiled, for this symphony was his own reflection. Every frequency of existence vibrated with his name. Even time itself bowed before him, for time had a beginning, but he did not. He stood before its first tick, beyond its final breath. The ages, the centuries, the rise and fall of kingdoms, all were contained within his eternal awareness. Nothing escapes his gaze, nothing precedes his being. He is the root and the source of all truth, the architect of both heaven and earth. In him, the blueprints of existence were drawn, not on parchment, but on eternity itself. The mountains, the seas, the winds, and the fire all carried his fingerprint. The DNA of creation bears his divine signature, and so, before humanity ever walked the earth, before history began to record its first story, the Son already stood as king, not of one world, but of all that is. The angels bowed, the stars aligned in reverence. He was, and is, and will forever be the Christ before creation. Before the beginning of time, before the foundations of the universe were laid, Jesus existed in the fullness of divine glory. He was not a creation. He was the eternal Word, the Logos, through whom all things were made. In the expanse of heaven, a realm beyond human comprehension, Jesus moved with perfect wisdom and authority, radiating a light so pure that it illuminated the farthest corners of reality. Angels and celestial beings surrounded him, their awe unmeasurable, their devotion absolute. They had witnessed countless epochs unfold, yet the presence of Jesus was always central, always commanding, always magnificent, beyond comprehension. In this pre-creation state, Jesus was engaged in the orchestration of all things. Every star, every planet, every particle of matter, every wave of energy in the universe responded to his voice. His thoughts were the blueprint of existence. His words shaped the dimensions, the laws of nature, the vast symphony of creation. The heavens themselves were alive with movement, reflecting his eternal essence. Angels moved in synchronized perfection around him, some holding instruments of light and power, some forming radiant patterns in mid-air, their wings glowing with divine energy. Each angel, a unique creation of God, vibrated with the knowledge of the Son's infinite authority, understanding that through him the entire cosmos would come into being. Jesus, in his pre-existent glory, was not passive. He was active in the eternal plan, interacting with the Father, executing the divine will, yet acting as the perfect mediator of creation itself. The angels revered him as their commander, their teacher, their eternal guide. They witnessed the unfolding of galaxies, the ignition of stars, the formation of planets, and the placement of life with meticulous precision, all emanating from the profound wisdom of the Son. His essence permeated everything that existed, a presence so overwhelming that the very concept of nothingness could not exist where he dwelled. Before time began, Jesus also displayed the perfect balance of love and justice, mercy and authority. He was the embodiment of all divine virtues, radiating a calm yet commanding presence. Angels and celestial beings experienced his glory as a living reality, understanding that all acts of creation were executed through him. His purpose was not limited, it was infinite. The vastness of his wisdom encompassed all that was, all that is, and all that would be. The Son's actions were the harmonizing force of the universe, a symphony of order, energy, and light. Each movement, each word, each glance carried the weight of eternity, and yet, in this unimaginable power, there was perfect humility and obedience to the Father. Even in this pre-creation existence, Jesus was intimately connected with every angelic being, every spiritual entity, and the entire cosmos that would later unfold. He knew each angel personally, understanding their strengths, their roles, their devotion. The angels, in turn, honored him with their undivided attention, with a reverence that surpassed any human comprehension. They understood that all of creation, including themselves, existed through him and for him. They observed his work, not as passive witnesses, but as active participants, carrying out his instructions in ways that maintained harmony, beauty, and divine order. The pre-existent Son of God was also a teacher. He imparted knowledge and understanding to the angelic hosts, revealing the mysteries of existence, the principles of divine law, and the essence of eternal life. His teachings were not mere lessons. They were revelations that expanded the consciousness of every being in the heavenly realms. The angels absorbed this knowledge, and in doing so, they were prepared for the roles they would later play in the unfolding story of creation. Jesus, in his eternal presence, also displayed the fullness of relational love. He was perfectly united with the Father and the Spirit, a triune harmony beyond human understanding. Yet, his relationship with the angels was real, personal, and profound. They did not fear him as a distant God. They revered him as their eternal leader, their guide, and their source of joy and purpose. This relational dimension of Jesus' pre-existence demonstrates that even before creation, his essence was not solitary, but interactive, relational, and dynamic. In the cosmic expanse, where light and time did not yet exist, Jesus' glory illuminated the endless void. His radiance was the source of all light, the origin of every principle of order, the embodiment of perfect truth and justice. Angels moved around him in awe-inspiring formations, their wings reflecting the infinite light, their voices echoing a silent harmony that resonated through eternity. Each movement, each gesture of the sun shaped realities yet to exist, weaving a tapestry of energy, matter, and life that would one day become the universe. Jesus' pre-creation existence was not static. He was the eternal creator, actively involved in bringing forth everything that exists. His thoughts and actions harmonize the cosmos, ensuring balance, beauty, and divine purpose. Angels participated in this divine orchestration, executing his will with precision and devotion, forming a cosmic symphony that reflected the eternal majesty of the sun. Before time began, before stars burned, before planets formed, Jesus existed as the eternal Word, the Logos, fully divine, fully aware, fully active. His presence alone radiated life, light, and love. Angels and celestial beings adored him, followed his guidance, and carried out his will. The universe itself, though not yet fully manifest, existed in his knowledge and through his power. The Son's eternal nature demonstrates that he was always present, always glorified, always the central figure of all that exists and will exist. This understanding of Jesus before creation is vital to grasping his ultimate role in the universe. He is not merely a historical figure or a teacher among men. He is the eternal Son, the architect of existence, the embodiment of divine wisdom, love, and power. Every action, every command, every thought before creation underscores his glory and centrality. Angels, in all their magnificence, exist to honor him, to follow him, and to participate in his eternal plan, demonstrating that from eternity past, Jesus has always been, always active, and always glorious. Before the creation of the world, before time had its rhythm or matter had its weight, the Word already existed, not as an idea, but as a living presence. Jesus was not a later invention or a new being born into time. He was, and always had been, the eternal Word, the expression of the Father's will and wisdom. Through him, the Father spoke existence into motion. Every atom, every star, every spiritual being, they all came into being through the breath of the Son. The angels, radiant and vast, watched in reverence as the Word unfolded creation. They beheld his light and understood that this light was the very life of all things. Yet, even among these celestial beings, few could grasp the full mystery of who he truly was. For hidden within that divine brilliance was a plan that none but the Father and the Son understood, a plan older than eternity itself. In the vastness of heaven, before sin, before rebellion, the Son was already destined to redeem. Before there was a wound, there was the cure. Before there was death, there was the sacrifice. The Lamb was already slain in the heart of God before the first stone of creation was laid. The cross, which would one day stand on a hill of dust, was first forged in the fires of eternity. When Lucifer first beheld the glory of the sun, pride was born in him. He could not understand how all light, all power, and all wisdom could belong to another. He desired the throne, but the throne was not built by power. It was built by love, and love is something pride can never hold. The Word, the pre-existent Jesus, stood not as a ruler demanding allegiance, but as the embodiment of divine humility. Through him, God revealed that the true strength of creation lay not in control, but in sacrifice. The Son's authority was not taken, it was given. His dominion came through serving, through yielding, through self-emptying. and this was the very mystery Lucifer despised. When the rebellion began in the heavens, the Son stood as the defender of truth, not with weapons, not with force, but with the power of his unchanging love. The angels who remained faithful understood something profound. That love was the highest law of the universe, and that this love flowed through the Son. Even as war broke out in heaven, the Son's purpose remained unchanged. He did not react. He fulfilled. His mission had already been written into the architecture of creation, that one day he would descend into his own creation, taking upon himself the form of what he had made. And yet, imagine the magnitude of this. The same Word who commanded galaxies would one day cry as an infant in Bethlehem. The same voice that set the stars in motion would one day whisper forgiveness to those who crucified him. The King of eternity would one day wear a crown of thorns. This was not a reaction to evil. It was a revelation of divine intention. Before creation, before the angels sang, before light broke through the void, the Father and the Son looked upon the future and saw every soul, every choice, every tear. And still, they decided to create. They knew that love without freedom is not love at all. They knew that freedom would bring rebellion, that rebellion would bring suffering, and that suffering would require redemption. Yet they chose love, even though love would cost everything. So the pre-existent Jesus, the Word, stood as the axis of all creation. Through him, everything was made. Through him, everything would be restored. The universe itself was built around his purpose. Every law of nature, every heartbeat, every ray of light whispered one truth, that all things find their meaning in him. When we read the ancient words, "In the beginning was the Word," we are not looking at the start of a story. We are glimpsing the eternal center of all reality. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. That means there was never a moment when he was not. He is the Alpha, the beginning, and the Omega, the completion of all things. In that eternal moment before time began, the Father loved the Son, and the Son loved the Father. And from that love came everything that exists. Love itself was the blueprint of creation. The galaxies are written in love, the oceans flow because of love, and the human soul beats because it was made to reflect that love. And so, before the first sunrise ever shone, the Son already knew his destiny. He would become flesh, walk among his creation, and reveal the invisible God in visible form. He would suffer not because he had to, but because he chose to. The one who was above all things would descend below all things, so that no creature could ever say, "God does not understand." This is who Jesus truly was before creation, not merely the beginning of existence, but the purpose behind it. Every era, every being, every breath finds its origin and meaning in him. He is the Word that was spoken, the life that gives light, the reason the universe exists at all. And in the silence before time began, when there was nothing but God himself, the voice of the Son whispered across eternity, "Let there be light." And from that moment, everything, absolutely everything began. Before the beginning of all things, before even the first spark of light pierced the eternal void, Jesus already existed, timeless, perfect, and one with the Father. But now, after the creation, the fall, and the unfolding of divine history, his purpose was revealed to all creation, to reconcile heaven and earth through his own sacrifice. The heavens watched in awe as the same Word who spoke the galaxies into existence chose to enter his creation as a humble man. The angels who once saw him robed in eternal light now saw him wrapped in human flesh, walking among those he had made. It was a mystery too deep for them to comprehend, that the infinite would become finite, that the Creator would become part of his own creation. Jesus came not to reign in power, but to redeem through love. His every word, every step, was the manifestation of the eternal plan formed before the foundation of the world. The same hands that shaped the stars would soon be nailed to wood. The same voice that commanded the seas would cry out in agony for mankind's salvation. The fallen angels trembled as the prophecy unfolded. They had once believed themselves beyond judgment, untouchable in their rebellion. But when they saw the Son of God descend, live, die, and rise again, they realized the power they could never overcome. Perfect love. Lucifer's pride, which once burned brighter than any star, now faded into darkness before the brilliance of Christ's humility. No force in heaven or hell could undo what Jesus accomplished. The cross became the great reversal, where defeat turned to victory, shame to glory, and death to life. And now, every moment of existence leads toward one inevitable truth. Jesus reigns. His name is written on every atom of the universe. His word sustains every breath you take, whether in the vastness of galaxies or in the quiet heartbeat of a single soul. His presence remains eternal, unbroken, unstoppable. The angels once asked, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals?" And the answer thundered across eternity, "The Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed." That Lion is the same Word who was with God in the beginning, the same Jesus who will return not as a humble servant, but as King of kings and Lord of lords. Every nation, every star, every being will bow before him. The same light that brought life at creation will burn away all darkness when he returns. There will be no more sorrow, no more separation, no more rebellion. Heaven and earth will become one, just as it was always meant to be. And this is the greatest revelation. Before the creation of the world, before the fall of angels or man, before time itself, God already loved you. Jesus was not plan B. He was the plan from the beginning. His existence, his purpose, his sacrifice, all were written before the first dawn. You were known before you were born. You were chosen before the stars existed. Every heartbeat of your life echoes with the same divine rhythm that created the universe. The same voice that said, "Let there be light," still speaks your name. So now, as you watch the world move through its final chapters, remember, this story isn't over. The same Jesus who stood before creation will stand again, not as a silent carpenter, but as the eternal ruler of all things. His return will not be hidden or symbolic. It will be cosmic. The skies will split open, and the sound of countless angels will fill all of creation. The question is not if he will return, but when. And when he does, every soul will know who he truly is, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the Word made flesh, the light of the world. This is the moment for you to choose. You can ignore his voice, live as if you were your own creator, chase the temporary shadows of this world, or you can turn toward the one who gave you life. The same Jesus who ruled before creation still stands with open arms today. He does not ask for perfection. He asks for surrender. He calls not the righteous, but the broken. He saves not through fear, but through love. His grace is older than time and stronger than death. Look around you. Everything you see exists because he willed it to be. The stars burn with his glory. The oceans move with his rhythm. Every sunrise whispers his promise, I am still here. The universe began with his voice, and it will end with his return. And when that day comes, every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Until then, live in that truth. Let your heart remember that you were part of his plan before the first light shone. The same Jesus who stood before creation stands beside you now. Believe, not because you are forced to, but because your soul already knows him, the one who was, who is, and who is to come.